If you knew there were 5 simple things you could do every day and it would improve your mobility, you'd do it, right? Of course you would. Well, stay tuned because our guest today is going to describe those 5 simple things you can do every single day. Stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. So we have an interesting show today because, yes, we're going to talk about 5 things to keep you more mobile, and who wouldn't want to buy into that? So my guest today is Kiley Mambelli. Hey, Kiley.
Hi, guys.
Good morning, and thanks for being with me. And Kiley is a fitness and wellness director at the Villas in Holmdel, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself right now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiley, and I've been the director for the Villas for the last 2 years, both in Manalapan and Holmdel. The new location in Holmdel just opened in April. We're so proud of it. And I work with all different types of people. And right now we have a great group that does chair fitness classes. We have pool classes, we do walking and step club and all sorts of different things. So that's my current role. I also work with our Revite Wellness program, which is a great program that I head up the fitness department for, which focuses on cognitive decline. So we also work directly with those folks as well. And my past, I've been a fitness trainer for all sorts of different people for over 20 years. And I sort of moved into this path because I actually have type 1 diabetes and I've had it for over 30 years. And so I sort of moved into more of a niche market of more chronic illness and maybe a little older clientele as I've gotten older, and really seem to have a heart for those people. So that's why I'm here.
Well, our clientele at Scan, we know we're over 55. And I think that I'm going to say that Kiley, fitness at Scan is very important. And I love the idea of doing something simple every day to make yourself more mobile, because I feel like for most of us, mobility, well, that's a pretty important thing. And we want to be able to move around throughout the day and be independent. And your mobility is a big part of that. So let's get into this. 5 simple things to improve your mobility. And Kiley's going to share that with us.
Absolutely.
Talk us through it.
Sure. So I recommend right from the minute you wake up, our very first thing that I would love for people to do is start thinking about a few things that they can do just to make themselves feel a little bit maybe less achy, a little more presentable each day. And so the first thing that I recommend that people do when they wake up is right from bed, I suggest doing what's called a thoracic spine stretch. And if you're laying on your side in sort of fetal position, your knees are tucked in. If you're able to sort of brace your knees down with your hand and open your chest up so that you're facing toward the ceiling, and you sort of open with your spine and just lay back with your knees to one side. And then you switch sides and you put your knees over to the other side and you just lean back and open with your chest and lay back. So that's a great opener for the chest and the shoulders, and most of all through the neck and the thoracic spine. So helping with the posture.
So you're just giving yourself what I'm going to call a good morning stretch. And do you hold the position for a couple of seconds?
I would suggest holding it maybe 30 seconds to a minute.
All right.
So here and breathe. Breathing is very important. Take a couple big deep breaths and sort of relax into the position. You might feel a nice stretch. Some people say their back and everything will kind of crunch and crack a little bit, so everything just kind of loosens up a little bit as you breathe.
Okay, that's certainly easy enough to do. We're still in bed. I like that idea. Okay.
Absolutely. And then second, I have them as they stand up, and I usually recommend this a few times a day. So if, for instance, whenever they're getting up to go use the restroom. So first thing out of bed, I recommend everyone walk to an area against the wall that's nice and open And all I suggest that you do is just stand against the wall. Try to get your heels back against the wall, your hips against the wall, your shoulders and the back of your head against the wall. So you're going to have a natural arch in your lower back. Obviously, that's going to be pulled away from the wall, but you really want to try to focus on getting the shoulders and the back of the head against the wall, along with the hips and the heels. For most people, this is very uncomfortable, and they don't even realize that they're forward most of the day with their head and their shoulders and everything else. So this is a great sort of reference point of where to begin your day. So I say just sit there, breathe a few seconds, put those shoulders back, put your head back against the wall. And there is your initial reminder of where that head and where the shoulders and the hips should be in space as you go about your day. So
and this is, I feel like this is also going to help you think about maintaining good posture.
Absolutely.
Because you're right. A lot of times we're sort of hunched over, and we need to be straight.
Especially for a lot of seniors that are using walkers or
Yes.
or even in a wheelchair. So,
Yes.
and if this is, a wheelchair situation, they wouldn't be able to do that. That's okay. They can stand again, sit in their chair and even, press their shoulders back and their head back as well. So I just really recommend this. And I love it when people say to me, they'll say, Kiley, guess what? I was at my daughter's house and I thought, straighten up, and they reminded themselves. They said, I remembered. And so I love it when I hear people say, oh, I remembered this throughout my day a few times. So even if it's once or twice that they think about it, while they're doing their everyday movements, then it makes me so proud.
And all you need is a wall.
That's
Nothing,
it.
a door, a wall, anything. All right. Very good. I like that. Good for your posture.
Right. So the third part is still against the wall, number 3. And I guess the technical term, not so technical, the exercise terminology for it is called a bird dog. And basically all this does is it starts to lengthen the front of the body and sort of activate the back side of the body. So for many people that are sitting throughout a day, this is going to activate the back side or the posterior chain a little bit, of which most people in their older age, it doesn't happen often. So what I mean by this is, as you're standing against a wall, if I had my hands against a wall like this, you would push one foot behind you, and then the opposite arm raises up against the wall. So you're like this, and your back leg is back. And all you do is back and forth, arm goes up and leg goes back. And you just glide your leg back as your arm goes up against the wall. So you're feeling that stretch through your shoulder, and the back side is actually contracting as you push your foot behind you, and then you switch sides, other leg and opposite arm.
How many reps would you recommend for people to do?
Maybe 15. I think
I'm taking notes.
Sure.
By the way, for my listeners out there, I will put these 5 tasks in the comments so that you can easily reference them. And of course, watching this, you'll see exactly what Kiley's talking about. Okay, cool. All right.
Great. So the fourth, and I'm sort of picturing how your day is progressing. So I'm thinking, okay, now you've gotten out of bed, you've done those things, you've stood up, you maybe went, toward the restroom, you stood against the wall for a second, you did that. So now we're going to make our way to our chair, maybe to eat our breakfast or sit and watch the news. So now you're in a sitting position. And what I suggest is doing what's called a seated figure 4. And it's like crossing your legs, but you're not actually crossing completely over. You're making a little number 4 with your knee. And I don't know if you can see my leg very well.
You can actually. Okay, very good.
All the stuff that people do is just gently press on their knee. And you could slightly lean forward into this, but just by sitting here like this, I feel a stretch through the entire backside of my hip and through my rear end and through my leg. So that's great for tight backs and maybe bothersome knees and all sorts of things, especially if you're sitting a lot during a day. So this is another thing that I think is very, it's a very safe an easy exercise to do. There's no risk of falling or anything like that. And you can do it while you're watching a show. So another really, really good one.
Kiley, we always tell people, we encourage people while you're watching TV, do something, right? March in place, move there's no excuse, people. There's a lot of commercials, do something. So this is great.
Yes. And even more so the stretching, because it's static. You could just sit there and watch and sort of feel your body lengthening a little bit. So
I like that. Okay.
Exactly. Now, the last part is sort of a grouping, and it has to do with the foot and ankle. And this is one area that I think is sort of lost. Everyone thinks, oh, I need to work my legs and my arms and my hips and everything else. And they sort of forget how important the foot and ankle is. And so while you're sitting, what I suggest is a couple different things. The first thing is, after so many years of us wearing probably inappropriate shoes, our toes get a little squished, right? And a lot of people will complain of bunions and different foot problems. Well, our toes are pretty crunched together most of the time. So I would recommend, staying away from shoes while you're in the house, as much as possible. And I don't know if you're familiar, but when you go and get a pedicure and you get those little tiny spacers.
Yes.
So I mean, they're very inexpensive. You can order them online, men, women, everyone. I suggest them for. And first off, while you're sitting a few minutes of every day, or maybe even a half hour, to put those spacers in your toes and make your foot and your toes just spread out a little bit. And over time, that helps, because when we use our feet, we need the biggest, widest imprint possible for balance. So we don't want them all crunched together. How are we going to balance on those little tiny things? So we want to try to space that out a little bit. So that's the first part of this. And then the second part would be to just do a lot of foot and ankle movements. So while you got these little spacers in your toes, maybe move your ankle and your foot around a little bit. So point and flex the foot, do circles in both directions, and really get that foot and ankle moving. One of the most important movements in your day is going to be standing and sitting, right? So standing and sitting is so important for everyone. And up until we can't move anymore, that's going to be your only means of getting around. You have to be able to sit. Right. And if you don't have that flexibility through your ankle or your tendons in your ankle and your foot, you're never going to be able to bend your knees and sit and stand. So everything starts down there and works up. So these little things, I mean, you wouldn't believe how stiff we get over time, and how these little tiny movements can help us to move so much better, and will help with the balance.
I have to say, Kiley, interesting that you talk about balance with your ankles. We have an 8-week workshop at SCAN called Matter of Balance. And we do pay a lot of attention to our feet and our ankles, because we remind people that your first line of defense in holding your body up is your feet and your ankles.
Absolutely.
You're on uneven terrain or going down a curb, you need to have good, flexible, strong feet and ankles. Absolutely. So I like that you're mentioning that. Yes, very good.
Yes. And of course, even working up through the calf and just stretching your calves out a little bit. And I think everybody pretty much knows how to, sort of stretch the back of their calves just by flexing that foot a little more and whatnot. But those are I mean, there are so many more. So we could go all day. You let me.
But here's 5 simple things, really. Doesn't require, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't need equipment. You do this at home. You can sort of do this throughout your day. This is sort of like an excuse-free opportunity for people of all ages to improve your mobility and flexibility. I like this. I took several notes, which I'm going to implement in my day.
Good. Another thing is if anyone is watching that has a parent that they're concerned about, being on their own or whatnot, these are all things, again, that are very safe, that you can feel you could feel good about knowing that, maybe if there's not a therapist watching over them, it's pretty hard to sort of mess up these things that I've done and really injure yourself at all. So, I would feel safe being a child of an older parent. If I gave these to my parent to say, you know what, do this, mom, while I'm at work or whatnot, because I think they're all things that you can feel very good about, that they're not going to, harm themselves.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Good advice. And, Kiley, a last thing that I want you to mention, because it is summer, it's hot, and older folks do have a tendency to not drink enough water. So please say something about staying hydrated, if you would.
Yes. I've been told this my whole life with my diabetic endocrinologist, and I get reminded of it too. So I am no exception. And I think it is so very important to our kidneys and the function of the rest of our body. I mean, it's just so very important. Hydration really does make a difference, and it makes a difference with your energy. First and foremost, I think if you're lacking in energy and whatnot, I think that would be the first place to start. It's very simple to do. And you get a one of the, what do you call them? The swell bottles or whatnot. And you can fill it up each time that you're out, and just focus on that near you. And it really is, it makes such a difference. So I
feel like it's very normal now. Wherever I go, I see people, including myself, carrying their water bottles. Absolutely. So you're not going to be out of place having a water bottle with you.
As a matter of fact, if I forget mine when I go into work, I feel like we left out. I think, oh man, I should have brought mine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right, guys. Don't stay thirsty, stay hydrated, especially in this heat. And the problem with being dehydrated too is that, and Kiley, you know this, it can mimic the symptoms of other things.
Absolutely.
So while you might think you're having problems with your blood pressure or your diabetes or a number of other things, the truth is, you know what? You're dehydrated and you need to be drinking throughout the day.
Absolutely.
So that's an important thing to remember for the summer.
Yeah.
Well, Kiley, these were 5 great suggestions. Again, I'm going to put everything in the comments. And if anyone wants to reach out to Kiley, I'll give you her contact information as well, in case you want to catch up with her.
I can for demonstrations if anyone didn't understand any of those things. So
no, I think you did a good job on that. I liked it. Again, I took a lot of notes here.
Oh,
I really like that suggestion about the toe spacers, because I have to say, the thing with it's not a shoe problem, people. It's operator error. We're wearing some really bad shoes, women.
Yes. So think about that. Yes, definitely.
I know that one hit home. All right. Well, Kiley Mambelli, I appreciate you being my guest this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, remember, everyone, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone. Bye, Kiley.
Bye-bye.